Good news, my smart telescope pre-processing script is now officially a part of the Siril scripts repository, which means that you no longer have to go to my GitHub to manually download and install the script. You can now install it directly from the Siril UI with the click of one button. And it's doubly great because I can push bug fixes and enhancements, and you don't have to do anything other than restart Siril and it should automatically update for you. There's been some bug fixes and enhancements, and unfortunately, the Celestron Origin has been kicked off the platform for now. It's mainly because I didn't want to deal with their shenanigans and their non-standard fits headers that has been causing a lot of problems, but I hope to get back to it later on when I have time, and I'll also start looking at the EVscope 2 and the Vespera and other telescopes that come my way. Now, if you downloaded the script previously manually through my GitHub, feel free to remove it. You don't have to, but it may get a little bit confusing if you have multiple scripts of the same name on your Siril scripts drop-down menu. And if you like beta testing, don't worry, I will still be pushing out updates early on and giving access to beta testers. So if you are interested, join my Discord server and ask me to be part of the beta testers group. We have a whole channel there you can join, and I will grant you access, and I'll push scripts there early on. I'll also start pushing scripts to my Patreon page. So I do have a Patreon page, and you can join for free, and I'll start making these beta versions available early on to those members there. And in this video, I'll also go over some troubleshooting steps, so make sure you watch the video thoroughly because I may already answer some of the questions that you already have. Now let's hop onto Siril and see what this looks like. Alright, so this script has been tested on Siril Beta 1.4.0 Beta 1 and Beta 2. So to install this, if you don't have it manually downloaded, remember you can delete it from your manual folder. You'd go to the hamburger menu, click on Get Scripts, and under the list of scripts here, if you scroll down, under the pre-processing section, you'll see Naztronomy Smart Telescope PP. So you just click on this, and you click on Apply, and it'll download for you. And once it's there, you click on Scripts, you click on Python Scripts, and then you'll see it here. And now it's installed, and whenever I push updates in the future, this should automatically update for you. So there have been a couple of enhancements made to try and make this a little bit beginner friendly. So first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to actually select another folder to be my working directory and not my actual working directory. So I'll click on this home button. Let's say I accidentally click old as my working directory because I have a lot of files in there. And now if I try to start that script, it'll actually pop up a dialog to make you select the correct lights directory. So select the parent directory containing the lights directory. So since there's no lights directory here, we can't click this. One thing you'll notice is that, so this is a little bit of a bug, is that since this is happening before this UI gets loaded, it looks blank. This is working as expected. Once it loads, it'll be okay. I know it looks ugly, but I'm hoping that this gets fixed by beta 3. I have to do a little bit more testing. So if you're here, if you cancel out, it'll kill the script. But if we go back, and let's say, I select darks by mistake and I click select folder, it'll give you a warning saying the selected directory must contain subdirectory lights. You press OK, and then it asks you again, or you can press cancel to X out of it. And the last thing we did was, so let's say you accidentally select the lights directory. I know a lot of people do this, mostly by mistake. We go into the lights directory by mistake when you want to be in its parent directory. So you click on lights directory, select folder, and it'll actually ask you, the selected directory is the lights directory. Do you want to select the parent directory? So if you press no, it'll ask you again to pick another directory. But if you pick yes, look at the working directory on top. It switches to the parent directory, and it's also reflected in the script here, and you see the UI loaded. So those are some beginner-friendly enhancements that we made to make sure that when you're selecting the directory, you're in the right location. So you'll notice that the UI has also changed. So this is adhering to Siril's design guidelines, so we're just matching their styles, and otherwise most of the options are the same. The big change here is that the telescopes, you'll see that Celestron Origin has been removed, and that's because it has been a pain to get it to work because it doesn't follow the same standard fits headers that the Seestars and the Dwarf 3 does. So getting to process it is a little bit of a headache, but I'm hoping I can get back to it later on when I have time. And going down, you'll see that there are calibration frames. So with the Dwarf 3, you can take dark frames, and now with the Seestars, you can take flat frames. I don't think there is a native way to do bias frames, but I think you can use an app like Seestar ALP to take biases and flats pretty easily with the Seestar apps. So I included them here. But you want to make sure that you check these boxes only if you have the directory here. So if you don't have these folders here, don't select them. There will be an error. I'll do a little bit better error handling in a future patch, but just something to keep in mind that if you select these and you try to run it, it will error out. The next enhancement I have is the cleanup file. So if you select this option, there's a little bit of a tooltip. It'll actually delete all the intermediary files as they are done processing. So if you do background extraction, once it's done with the BKG underscore files, it'll delete them. And then once you do the pre-processing, it'll delete those files. Once you create the flats, it'll delete all the intermediary files. It's pretty cool. So I'll actually run this in real time, and I usually skip over them, but you'll see the files getting cleaned up in real time, so it'll be cool. The 2048 plus files mode, it works the exact same way. You use this if you have more than 2048 files. It'll use a fit sequence. The bug where if you do 2048 plus drizzle, it will give you a monochrome image, so that bug is still there. So if you want to do that, you either drizzle or you do SPCC. Don't do both. Background extraction stays the same. There's a polynomial with degree 1. Pretty simple. Drizzle and stacking options are also the same. You can go up to 3 or all the way down to 0.1, and the pixel fraction, you can go up to 10 pixel fractions, but for this demo, I'm only going to leave this at 1. And then feather, you probably don't need this with Seestar and Dwarf 3 data, but you can use this if you end up seeing edge artifacts between the frames. So use a feather amount of 20 pixels or so. It doesn't hurt. It'll add a little bit of processing time. The one thing I'll mention with drizzle is that, so if you do drizzle, there is a bug. The bug still exists where the algorithm will randomly make some of these frames black. And when that happens, stacking will fail because you can't do normalization on a black frame. So I do have code here that is still looking through every single frame, and if it's black, it'll exclude it. So I work around that. So if those are excluded, those won't get stacked. It's not that your data is bad, it's just that there's a little bit of a bug, but there's a workaround here. So, and when you're drizzling, it'll take a long time. If you're drizzling like 3x, it'll take an even longer time because of the amount of calculations that it needs to do. So just something to keep in mind. And the SPCC stays the same. Depending on the telescope you pick, you get the different filters. So the S50 and the S30, they have the broadband and the LP filter, the narrowband filter, and the Dwarf has the thing as well. That's pretty much it. And there's also the help icon here. It gives you some information, my name, the YouTube channel, and the Discord. So if you need help, join the Discord server and ask for help. Provide screenshots, and then when you press OK, since you can't select anything from that help menu, it also logs them in the console, so you can right-click, copy and paste. And go from here, so you don't have to type everything out. And these are here. If you see that the info here could use a little bit more, let me know what you think would be good. So now going back to this, the one thing I'll mention is that sometimes when you open this, if you click on anywhere else in the Siril window here, or if you get a little pop-up, you click on the little pop-up, you'll see that the script disappears, but it's still there. It's in my taskbar. So you gotta make sure that it's still there. It could be there if you you do the scripts and you run it again, it'll run a second instance, and we don't want that. Like for example, so this will also test. What if you are in the correct directory? It'll just start up like normal. But you can see that I have 2 now. So just close one. And now I'm doing Dwarf 3 because I have darks here, and then we'll see cleanup files. Alright, so I will let this go, and then we'll see a process directory show up here, and then we'll see all those files, and then we'll see things disappear. So let me just reorient things. Okay, I'll do a background extraction and also do a drizzle of 1x. I'm not going to do feather. I don't need it. And this is a narrowband object that I'm stacking, so I'll do dual band, and then I'll click on run. And you'll see a process directory came up here. And then in the process directory, we already have the BKG files, the PP lights file. This is the calibrated lights. There's a cache file. And now it's reading the registered background extracted file. So once that's done, you'll see those files here, the r_bkg. The bkg files will disappear. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. Again, doing this in real time, not skipping anything, just to show you. But feel free to fast forward or skip a little bit. There you go, the BKG files have disappeared. And also, because of how the naming worked, you'll see the dark stack. So it only leaves the stacked or the master files here for your calibration frames and deletes everything else. So I only have the dark stack. So it saves a ton of space. And now it's going to start doing stacking. And once it's done with the stacking, it'll remove the registered files as well because we don't need those. Let it do that. There you go. So now all we have is the results.fit and darkstack.fit. And here it is. And I'm just going to do this so we can see more of it. In the logs here, you can see everything that it did. Try to log as much as I can. And then auto stretch. Yeah, so this is already stretched. So what we want to do is, just like before, I'll go back one directory. And here I have my two created folders, or two created files, the OG, which is just a result fit without getting auto stretched, then SPCC, which is SPCC done. So I'll just pull this over here. You'll see this is a linear image. I'll click on auto stretch, and then now I can start doing stuff here. And one more thing that you'll notice on the file name is that we are also including the drizzle amount. So if you're doing drizzle, it'll include drizzle dash whatever the factor is. It'll appear here so that you can separate them out. And the last bit of information is the time that this was stacked. So it was stacked at 10:32 p.m. on June 4th here. Pretty simple, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this over to a Seestar data. So I'm going to click on, so I have my M31 data here, Seestar S30. So if you're in the right, working directory, the script will just open. It won't try to force you to do anything else. If you have multiple screens, this might open in another screen. Just keep that in mind. All right, so I have S30. So I don't have any calibration frames here. I just have lights. You can see from my last video here, I have my old files here. So if I do darks, flats, and biases, it'll error. So I'm just going to do cleanup files, background extraction, drizzle, and then no filter. And then I'll click on run. Right, that is actually pretty fast, and I completed here. I have just a results file, no calibration frames. And then I have the drizzle factor in here as well. So you can compare what it used to look like versus what it looks like. So I only really added just the drizzle factor to the file name. So it looks pretty good. And while I'm here, I'll say that if you see error statistics computation failed, I think this is a thing with SPCC. I don't know why it appears, something I need to look into. But if you know, I thought it had associated with the black files getting found, but this one actually didn't find any black files. So it's a little bit strange, but it's something I'll look into. So you can ignore that for now. It still seems to be doing SPCC as expected anyway. But anyways, here's the results. Here's the stack. Now you can crop and do whatever you want with your stack now. So we already did some troubleshooting in the demo, but let's get through some additional troubleshooting steps. So if you don't see the script in your Siril, one thing you can try to do is when you go to get scripts, you can try and do a manual update. And if you still don't see any new scripts, you may need to reset your VENV. Sometimes that fixes a lot of things. It won't delete anything, but it will clear any kind of super cache that may remain on your machine. So it's definitely worth trying. Another step you can take is to go to your app data and delete the entire Siril scripts directory. And when you restart Siril, it'll re-download everything. If you use Mac or Linux, you'll have an equivalent directory, and normally it'll be listed in one of the available scripts location in your preferences in Siril. I'll also mention that this script takes about 98% of frames when it stacks. It's about 2.5 standard deviations from the median. But if you start to see that more frames get rejected, I would highly recommend that you look at each of your individual subs because you may have some bad data, which can be hard to really figure out if you have hundreds or even thousands of frames that you need to sift through that we can easily accumulate with the smart telescopes. Last bit of troubleshooting is that if you are in an improper working directory and you try to run the script, you will see that file dialog, but if you're on a Mac or Linux, it could behave a little bit weirdly. I'm hoping that when Siril 1.4 goes into beta 3, there's a little fix that's coming, and I'm hoping that fix lets me fix some of the UI weirdness that you may see with the script. And finally, I'll mention that if you need help, you can create an issue on GitHub or reach out to me on Patreon or on Discord. It's extremely helpful if you provide screenshots. or, and actually not just or, if you can also provide me the logs from the Siril console. Sometimes Siril does crash, which is unfortunate, and that's part of the whole beta thing, so I'm hoping that gets fixed. But if it does crash, restart it and then see if you can get it to replicate whatever issue you're having, and then download the logs and then send it to me, and that'll help me a lot when it comes to troubleshooting. A huge thanks to the Siril team and to Siril Richard specifically for reviewing the code, for testing the code, and actually helping figure out some of the Mac issues that I was dealing with since I don't have a Mac. And a shout out to my buddy Rich from Deep Space Astro, who's been an enormous help through this whole process, for giving me feedback, for being there for testing, and is also providing some data that I seriously needed access to. And finally, thanks to all the beta testers and for everyone who submitted issues and asked questions in the comments in GitHub and Discord. It was extremely helpful. They have all been super helpful, and I'm really thankful for all of that, and please keep them coming. I would love to keep hearing about your experiences with any version of the script. If you have any enhancement requests for this script, or maybe you have an idea for a new script and maybe you don't know how to get started or you don't code, let me know. I really hope this script makes things a little bit easier for all of us smart telescope users. Until next time, clear skies.